I want to go back now to this viral story of a 10-year-old in Ohio impregnated after being raped and subsequently going to Indiana for an abortion because of Ohio's strict abortion laws. Now, we covered the story as it was reported a week or two ago. It was either early last week or late the previous week. And it's an incredibly disturbing story. Not surprisingly, many on the right said it was just a made up story. And we're going to get to that in the second part of this segment. But that's not where I want to start. Where I want to start is the follow up to the story, which is that an arrest has now been made of the alleged perpetrator. And this is part of what has now shifted the narrative from the American right on the story, which we will get to in due time. So here's the latest. The Columbus Dispatch reporting arrest made in rape of Ohio girl that led to Indiana abortion, drawing international attention. Now, part of the reason why it drew international attention, national and international, was that this happened in the immediate aftermath of the Supreme Court announcing that Roe v. Wade is no more, that the fundamental right to an abortion in most cases in the country is no more. And people like South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, the Mississippi House Speaker, whose name I forget, and others were asked, what about cases where a kid is raped and impregnated? 12-year-old was the example that was often given. Would you feel comfortable forcing them to carry a child to term? And one of the reactions was, these are imaginary situations. These are mere hypotheticals. We don't deal in hypothetical. And very quickly we had a real story. And that was much of why the story became viral in the way that it did. Well, the follow-up is the following. A Columbus man has been charged with impregnating a 10-year-old Ohio girl whose travel to Indiana to seek an abortion led to international attention following the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade and the activation of Ohio's abortion law. Gerson Fuentes, 27 years old, was arrested Tuesday after police say he confessed to raping the child on at least 2 occasions. He's since been charged with rape, a felony in the first degree, in Ohio. Columbus police were made aware of the girl's pregnancy through a referral by Franklin County Children's Services made by her mother on June 22nd. On June 30, the girl underwent a medical abortion in Indianapolis. So first and foremost, the Indiana abortion part was a real part of the story. The right was desperate to say that's fake. That's fake, and let's find whatever doctors are committing crimes here. It was a real part of the story. Hune, the detective, also testified that DNA from the clinic in Indianapolis is being tested against samples from Fuentes, as well as the child's siblings, to confirm contribution to the aborted fetus. As you can imagine, if that is confirmed, this will be an open and shut case. Now, one other interesting element here that I will discuss. Franklin County Municipal Court Judge Cynthia Ebner said the case did not warrant Fuentes, who is believed to be an undocumented immigrant, to be held without bond. Ebner said a high bond was necessary due to Fuentes being a possible flight risk and for the safety of the child. The bond was set at $2 million, and it is unclear whether the individual would be able to make that bond. So a few different things here. Number one, undocumented? Whoop! That's a perk up word for Fox News. Fox News suddenly cares about the story again. When it was the rape of a 10-year-old with a pregnancy, but unable to get an abortion, the story might be fake and it was not an interesting story. All of a sudden now that the perpetrator, the believed perpetrator who has allegedly confessed and whose guilt may be proven by DNA very soon, is undocumented, now they care about the story, but they're spinning it. And we'll talk about that in the next segment. Now, of course, if there's a DNA match, this is going to be an open and shut case, and we will soon know that. Many of you emailing me saying, if there isn't a case that requires no bond, wouldn't it be this one? Because isn't the individual, if indeed he is an undocumented immigrant, potentially a flight risk to get out of the country? I think that that's absolutely true. And it's weird to me that that bond was granted. That being said, we don't know the financial situation of this individual. $2 million bond may be an impossibility. And even if you have to come up with 10% with a bail bondsman, 200,000 may be an impossibility. We just don't know. It may effectively be no bond. Don't know the answer to that. One other aspect to this. Very often in child rape cases, I get emails from people in the audience saying, I can't wait for this guy to end up in prison where, they'll often say something like where Bubba is going to give this guy an even stricter punishment than the time in prison. Talking, of course, about prison rape. I've said this before and I will say it again. No matter how vile the crime and no matter how strict the sentence, which this is a very serious alleged crime and the sentence should be very severe, the counting on the lack of security in our prisons so that people also are raped as part of an additional punishment, I think is absolutely disgusting. And I'm not denying that it happens. But when people say, child molesters have it tough in prison, they're going to end up raped themselves, and I like that. We have a problem in American prisons that they are unable to keep inmates safe. If you believe there should be stricter punishments for certain crimes, well, we can lobby for them. We can vote. We can find elected officials or whatever that will change the law to make the punishment stricter. But relishing off the record punishments that are the result of faulty prisons that aren't able to protect inmates, like, for example, prison rape of child molesters, it's very hard for me to say that's a good thing. The punishment should be that doled out by the justice system. And if this person is indeed the perpetrator, it should be a very severe punishment. But the relishing the prison rape stuff, hard for me to get behind that. Okay, so that's the update on the story. Let's now go to the right-wing reaction.